almost every week we'll get a new gun in and we've got to take it from the box and get it fully set up ready for a review. And so today we're going to show you some of the hacks that we've found to set up a rifle efficiently and to get the best accuracy out of it. But also, our friend from Mountains Mullets America does the exact same thing, setting up tons of rifles. And so I think we'll see a lot of differences in the way that we set up our rifles.
I'm pretty pumped about it, but I'm wondering, can I get down?
We're not going to just blab in this video. We're going to take this rifle. This is a Bergara Premier Competition. This is in the MPA chassis. It's a great deal on this rifle, really, for what you're getting. But also note, you can get from Bergara just this barreled action with the heavy profile barrel and their Premier action for I think $1,200, and then put it in whatever stock you got, which is a pretty cool deal. So this rifle is not sighted in. We just got this Athlon Helos BTR Gen 2 that we carry. Okay. Just pop that on there. So because we both do this all the time, I'm hoping that we kind of pull out some nuances of differences that we have. What's the first thing you do when you get a brand new rifle? The
first thing that I would want to do is make sure the rifle fits me and feels comfortable in the positions that I'm going to shoot it.
Okay.
You know, so something like this has an adjustable kind of pad here on the rear. Yeah, so I would set my length of pull. You know, there's the old rule of thumb where you have kind of the distance from your kind of, what is it, crook of your elbow, kind of up to your trigger finger is a rough guide.
Yeah, I kind of have two considerations there. Is certainly I want it to be comfortable, but the other thing is I want it to be the same between my rifles. And we do so much hunting rifle content that does not have an adjustable length of pull that I pretty much stick to a 13.5 inch, which is the standard for the length of pull.
I actually like to feel a little bit stretched out, like especially in a prone type position like this. I don't want my neck to feel scrunched, pushed down. So like when I get behind the rifle, I want to just kind of lay my, so like right now to me, length of pull feels very short because I'm so close to the scope. So where the scope's at right now, I'm not getting a clear image through it. So if this were me and my rifle, I'd go ahead and push this out quite a bit and stretch myself out to get some more distance.
Cool. Already pulling out some differences.
Yeah.
All right. So once we set our length of pull, then we're going to put on the scope. Anything else you do with until this point?
No. So at that point, just once I know everything's tight and I'm confident how my scope is mounted, I would head to the range.
Okay.
The one thing I would do, whether you do this at home or at the range, is some sort of initial zero. Bore sight. Otherwise, you're going to waste a bunch of rounds. So,
well, let's get this thing bore sight. Show me how you do it.
I look down the bore, and right now my bore, you know, so this is a 6.5, so it's a tiny little hole, and what I'm seeing down range is basically 4 of the paper targets. So 4 sheets of paper. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm roughly pointed at the upper right paper.
So then you're just not moving the gun, and then you're checking to see where the scope's pointed.
So then I will just run. Oh, you gotta. So then I'll just kind of run my windage over, and then I need to come down. So now I have roughly aligned my reticle with where the bore was pointed.
And so now with any luck, when we fire our first shot, we'll at least be on paper to do it. One thing that we do a little bit differently on this stage, just because we've wasted so much ammo bore sighting, because it is going to be rough, is we'll usually do this at 50 yards, exactly 50 yards. That will bore sight there, because you can just, you know, a little bit more forgiveness there. But the reason we do exactly 50 yards is then the scope clicks still make sense for what distance. You just need twice as many as 100, right?
Sounds good.
Are you just going to aim for the, not even at one of the papers, but just dead center on the box?
Yeah. We'll see where we land. Let's check parallax.
Tell them about that. I see you're bobbing your head.
Yeah, so parallax, you know, is similar to like focus on the optic, but basically what I was doing when I bob my head, I'm watching the reticle in relation to the target. And as you adjust parallax, you'll see that reticle moving, and then when it gets right, the reticle stays fixed versus the target. So it's also going to clear up the image. There we go. All right, so center between the 2 papers on the box.
Center of mass.
Here we go.
Okay, you're on the top left target, so you're probably 11 o'clock, 1 foot.
So from where I held,
probably
I'm going to say I need to come down. So I'm going to see the impact through the optic, and then I'm going to measure that in the reticle. So I need to come down like 1.8.
Yeah, so that's important. So if you're keeping your reticle at the center where you aimed, and then count on the reticle all the little hash marks, those subtensions, to see what you need to do. Otherwise, you're just randomly, oh, do a bunch of clicks down and left.
All right.
Great. So you're 1 o'clock, 3 inches.
So at this point, I'm just going to shoot a 3-round group.
So that's a really good point that maybe we should make here is, if you have a rifle that, you know, it's brand new, you don't know how accurate it is.
Yep.
You can chase your tail for half an hour where you're like, oh, it's a little bit high, and then you adjust it down, and then it's left. And what you really find is, oh, it's not shooting this load well or whatever. And so until you're confident in the accuracy of the rifle and load, you probably want to shoot a couple shots to make sure they're landing in the same spot.
Yeah, you're not chasing some kind of outlier.
Exactly.
Yeah, so at this point, I'll just put 2 more rounds right on that same circle. All right.
1/4 inch apart.
We'll do 1 more.
All right, got about a 1/2 inch group there.
So now what I'm going to do is take an actual measurement of where I'm at. And then from here, I would shoot, depending on what I'm doing, maybe a 5-round group. And I want to track velocity, get my chronograph to get my load data to shoot at the distance. So let's just shoot, we'll shoot a couple here just to confirm that 0 shift or 0 change.
Setup. This is the Garmin Zero chronograph that's extremely popular. I know Athlon's coming out with a competitor soon. I think we'll make a case for that as well. This is the Backfire case for it. No hinge, anything to break. You can keep your tripod on. Just slip it right in there for your storage. And then you push out from the bottom. Has a spot to store an air tag so you don't lose your range bag or if somebody steals it. And the charging cord right in there. The Backfire storage case for the Garmin Zero.
All right.
Okay.
So
from that, we see 5 out of 5 shots are high, barely, but high. 3 of the 5 shots are right, but I would also say 3 are, you know, within a tenth there. And so what measurements would you make based on that info?
So based on what I see right now, I probably wouldn't change anything. I would probably shoot another group and see, are those in the same spot? And if so, if that second group landed in the exact same spot, then I probably would adjust. Right now, I would probably adjust down a tenth and left 2/10.
Okay.
And then I would call that zeroed up.
Looking at the target here, looks like we got a shooter here.
Yeah, that's pretty solid out of the box.
And our SD was amazing. It's only 8 shots, but SD was 5.7 feet per second.
Holy cow.
That's way better than we typically see from factory ammo, even Hornady match. Usually we're seeing SDs around, you know, 14, pretty common. But we did good there. So our velocity is 2,774 and then 6.5 Creedmoor. So what do you make of this data then? Would you make a change or are you calling that good?
So at this point, yeah. So what I did, after we got our current 0, we fired these 5 rounds here. I had the one that kind of popped out of the group. Maybe that was me. 4 of them are pretty solid. You look at the other 5 up here, which are stacked pretty much right on top of those 4. So at this point, I would say, if you look at the 10 shots total, I might bump down like 2/10.
Yeah, I agree. I would, looking at all of them, I might just call it 1/10, but it's probably going to be right in there. Okay, now the one change that we have found that we have to make there is we'll make that last change, and then obviously we'll zero the turret, take the turret off and turn it to 0.
For sure.
But the one thing that we found on way too many scopes, especially cheap scopes, is where we shoot it, everything's right, we'll zero the cap and then shoot it again. And that zeroing process bumped something. Have you seen that?
Yes. So yeah, whether it's in the scope or whether it was me when I loosened the cap.
Yeah,
you got to make sure you hold the cap tight. The other thing I was just thinking about that is like a tall target type test. So once you're zeroed and you're confident, you want to make sure that your scope actually tracks to the measurements that you ask it to.
Right.
So that's, yes. So you want to make sure you're careful when you zero, confirm that 0, and then possibly tall target test.
Cool, let's do it. All right, so we're down at 100, and what we're looking for here is we're just going to get this level. This is not exactly a clinical test because of that. But we're showing the idea here. We're still getting our range set up. I'm going to put that in the center of the group there, and center of the group here, and whoops, sorry, I keep bumping this. Get it in the center of the group, and the center of the group, and look at that. Not quite.
A little off.
Oh no, wait, I'm not quite in that group. Keep moving. A little off.
A little bit off.
And so that tells me that we got some work to do on that scope. Because now when we are dialing up, we're dialing, and so we have a little bit of work to do, potentially, but again. So what we really need is we're setting up our wood board here to have our perfect sight and targets so we can do that. So now we're gonna true our ballistics. We're gonna actually shoot 400, 600, 800, and 1,000 yards at the different berms out there. So I've put all the information into, I used the Hornady app this time, it's free. And so I put in, under the rifle info, our velocity was 2,784. We zeroed at 100 yards. The sight height difference between the bore of the barrel up to the middle of the scope is 2.05. Barrel twist is 1 and 8 for this 6.5 Creedmoor. And then we put in the environmentals. We're at an altitude of 3,300, temperature of 60, it's at blah, blah, blah. We put all this stuff in there. And so now we just go to 400 yards and it tells us that we need to go to, it never remembers Mil and Nimrod, 1.8 mils. So he's dialed that.
1.8?
We're just going to take 2 shots at each distance and just see where we land on the plate.
All right, here we go. Check my level. We're good in level.
Yeah, we're probably just 3/10 or something.
All right, I'm just going to go like right at the 9 o'clock on the plate.
Okay. Impact. 5 o'clock.
Just on the plate
3
there.
inches probably. Oh. Okay, that's probably, given where the swing was, I bet that bullet landed in the same spot. Okay, so we know we're trending just 2 inches low at 400 yards. We're going to take mental note of that, and we're going to go out to 600.
All right, what do we have for elevation at 6?
3.5.
For wind, I'm going to go like a half left.
Sounds right.
Here we go.
6 o'clock, 5
tenths.
inches, just barely below the plate.
So for this round, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to hold up at the top edge of the plate. There we go.
Impact. 5 o'clock, 2 inches.
All right, you want to put one more on the plate?
Impact.
I think that was kind of 1 o'clock maybe?
Yes.
So I'm currently at 4.1 mils.
Above.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot. So normally we shouldn't see at 600 yards, 4/10 is kind of a lot to be needing to adjust. So I think what we probably should do first is check back that we got all the information in here correctly. It's not like unheard of at all, but we haven't even checked the density, altitude, and stuff today. We're just making some guesses, and so I'm going to go back through here and make sure we're right, and then we'll continue our test. All right, we're at 800 yards. We're switching to the 1 MOA plate here because there's some sagebrush obscuring. I did also check in the app. I had the elevation wrong, and so we'll see if that's going to help these impacts go more to where they're supposed to be.
All right, so I'm at 5.3, and I'm going to hold left 0.5.
Look like 6 o'clock. I can't quite tell how much, but look like at least 8 inches.
All right, I dialed up 0.4. There we go.
Impact. Dead center.
So we're up 6.1.
Okay, 6.1, and the dope was 5.3. We're off by a lot. All right, you guys, a little update on what happened because we found out later. So what was occurring is the dope we got from the app wasn't quite matching up with reality. It's normal to have to true 1 or 2 tenths, something like that, just because, your barrel, whatever, is a little bit different. However, this was like 4 and 5 tenths. That's a lot. The app should get us closer than that. And what we found is when we dialed out to 1,000 later and then back down, suddenly the original dope was correct. And that same dope was not working before. And so I think what we discovered was something going on with this particular scope, that we were dialing and it was stuck. It wasn't popping to where it needed to go, because then when we went past it and came back down, suddenly all the numbers were correct. And so that's something we're going to investigate with this scope. But the numbers we were able to figure out, and the 1,000 goes great.
Oh,
impact.
First round impact.
All right, so that's how we at least set up guns to shoot out to 1,000 yards. And now it's at the kind of the point where you just kind of need to learn the gun and its nuances and how to shoot it.
For sure.
Well, thanks for doing this collab with us. Check out the Mountains Mullets America channel. Maybe we'll do Backfire Mullets America. Maybe I'll grow one out in your honor.
Dude, no, this was a blast. I appreciate the opportunity, and man, I love like precision rifle stuff and nerding out. So
thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.